Exactly what I wanted. So, yes. So, very, very pleased. And also, we're going to try and broaden it out. So it's the whole movement. We're trying to focus on that. So, I'm absolutely delighted. But listen, it made a big difference. Everybody come to court. I think the whole court was full up, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and thanks to everybody who's done all the hard work behind the scenes, and everybody here, and the whole continuing. It's hard work, isn't it? People think you're hanging out on a pavement. If you go down to St Paul's, I was looking at, been there today, and it's so much work there. It's hard. It's not an easy life. We're on the pavement for a reason. And it's a bigger reason than for ourselves. We're not just there having a nice time hanging out. There's huge issues involved here. That's why having this judicial review is so important. And also, this country is heading to war again with Iran. What are we going to do about it? We need people power now more than ever. We've got to get united. We've got to get ready and be prepared. And this time, they're not going to get away with it. We're not going to have this marching and rallying business that ends up going nowhere and achieving nothing and allowing the destruction of all these nations and innocent people. We are going to do everything in our power now to stop this. And we do have the power, and we will be united. But we've got to stick together. We must not be divided, and don't let anything divide us. And that is a big danger in that. We must not be divided.
Well done.
Thank you, Maria.
She's got the same
Well, here's an idea from a crazy Irish.
Hello, so I'm Ricky. I do a lot of journalism, posting reports on Indymedia, and I've just written a couple of articles for Indymedia about this court case, so I've been kind of following it, and I know a bit about what's happening legally. And the situation is that in last year in September, the government brought in this new law, which is called Pasra, and it's the Police and Social Responsibility Act, which sounds like it's got nothing to do with much, but there's one little section in it which is to do with the demonstrations in Parliament Square. And they've been trying to get rid of these encampments in Parliament Square for years and years, well, for 10 years, because Brian Hall started there 10 years ago. And they've continually failed in court doing that. So what they're trying to do now is bring in this law that basically stops you from using anything that helps you sleep. So you're allowed to protest. They don't want to interfere with your rights to protest, of course, heaven forbid, you know. But what they do want to do is stop you from sleeping there and having a 24-hour protest. And we know that like these 24-hour protests, they're very effective. Brian has become an iconic figure of peace throughout the world. I mean, he may have been a little bit of a figure of derision in Britain because of the tabloids towards the end, but you know, throughout the world he's really respected. And the reason for that is because he had this 24-hour presence. If you take that away, you take away a lot. Now the other thing is that this year we've seen the Occupy movement start to bring tents into protests. The whole point is you set up an encampment and you show people a different way of living, a different way of organising, and that's the whole point of the Occupy movement. This is very, very scary to the government, but luckily they brought in Pasra. Now at the moment Pasra is just about Parliament Square, and it's just to get rid of the people in Parliament Square. But, and this is the real danger, already Westminster have just finished a consultation, a public consultation, to bring in bylaws that will extend those Pasra-type laws throughout the whole of Westminster. Also, the GLA are doing a consultation which ends next week, and if you want to know how to enter that consultation, you can look on Indymedia, on London Indymedia, and I'll be doing more articles about it there, but there's a couple of things already there. So get onto it and respond to the Department of Culture and the GLA. There's two separate consultations. They're both ending next week, and they're both to bring in bylaws which will have the same effect. That, yeah, you can protest, but if you bring a tent, you're committing a criminal act. They can seize the tent, anything that you can use for sleeping, a sleeping bag, anything like that is regarded, even any structures that could be used for sleeping in, the whole thing. So basically camps, any sort of encampment. And they're scared of this shit, which is why they're doing it. So, you know, at the moment, this court case here is very simply Maria, who is one of the demonstrators in Parliament Square. She's been there pretty much from about 2002 or 3, I think she joined Brian. And she's now running her own thing called the Peace Strike, which has got 2 huge boxes on the square, which are quite formidable, nice bit of demonstration. And she heard about Pasra coming in. She got a commencement order from Westminster Council saying, we are asking you to move your stuff, otherwise we're going to seize it under this new law. And she put in to get a judicial review. So there was an injunction until today, and Westminster Council have turned up to fight it. But Maria's barrister, who comes from Matrix Chambers, is a pretty phenomenal and formidable opponent. And basically she talked to the Westminster barristers and said, look, we need to get this done properly. We need to decide on all the human rights issues, on all the issues together. And so we need another longer injunction. We need to put all the arguments together and actually test this Pasra law before you start taking people's tents and taking the boxes away and so on. Because effectively, if she hadn't have done that today, they'd have come and they'd have taken away all of the protest in Parliament Square. And it would be down to people to turn up each day and bring some banners and just stand there dutifully and then go home. You know, and we know that sort of protest isn't as successful and powerful as setting up a camp. So she's beaten them off today, and what's going to happen is all the lawyers are getting together, they're going to fight out all these human rights laws and stuff, and it's going to be heard sometime in March, and that will be decision day. But in the meantime, what you can do, if you want to help preserve the power to go out and camp, if you see that camping to me is a tool for it's a tool of trade for a committed full-time campaigner. How can you be a committed full-time campaigner and not be allowed to sleep where you're campaigning? It's ridiculous. So it's very, very important, this human rights aspect of it. And if you want to help do that, look on London-Indymedia and find out those links for the GLA and for the Department of Culture, and get a response in this week explaining why you think it would be wrong to extend those bylaws, because they're coming to get you. If you don't do something now, the GLA one at the moment is only Trafalgar Square, but once they've tested it and it works, they'll put it all citywide, they'll put it to Nottingham, they'll put it to Manchester, they'll put it to Bristol, the whole country. You won't be able to pitch a tent anywhere.
So have you been following the Occupy case?
Not so much, I mean a little bit, no, but I mean it's slightly different arguments, because the whole thing in the Occupy thing is purely who owns the land and whether you've got a right to protest there and disrupt other people, but there's a whole load of stuff about ownership. Whereas a lot of these other things are basically land well, I suppose they're still about ownership, but you know...
And is a tent necessary? Because the church wanted to give us sort of like an info tent, where we can keep Tent City and have our GAs there, but we're not allowed to sleep there.
Yeah. So I mean, there are definite parallels, and in fact, if you look at the consultations of GLA and Westminster, the thing you find is that they specifically mention the global trends to urban camping as protest, as the reason they want to bring the bylaws. So if you think it's not going to affect OLSX or any other occupation, you've got another thing coming, because that is, they've realised that they can use these laws. They're much quicker than deciding who owns the land and whether you've got a right to be there and all that, and get an injunction against you and all that shit. This turns it into a criminal offence. You turn up with a tent, the police can use reasonable force to seize your tent and arrest you. That's it. No arguments, no injunctions, no property ownership, nothing. So, you know, that's why this is kind of important. And if you can come back, keep an eye on London-Indymedia. Once we know the date of this High Court case, come back and show solidarity, because it's a big one. It's really important.
Okay, and hopefully we'll still be here as well.
Yeah, and I hope you're all here as well.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Cheers then.
Can I
from my fairly limited knowledge, today is a court date hearing for Maria Gallestegui, who is part of the Peace Strike campaign, which has been on Parliament Square protesting continuously for over 5 years. And basically she is seeking a judicial review of a law which was brought in recently, about on December the 19th, and the law is called the Police Reform and Social Responsibility Act, Pasra, and that applies to Parliament. Basically, this law means that camping, continuous protest, is criminalised, because it gives council officials the power to order you to take down tents, to remove placards or things which form part of a continuous demonstration, and then if you don't comply with that, then you basically make yourself liable to arrest with a fine up to £5,000. It is significant, obviously, because as Occupy is showing, continuous demonstration is a very powerful thing. It provides people an opportunity to come together, to meet each other, to form networks, to share information, to communicate broadly. It gets a lot of publicity, and the government knows that Occupy is a powerful thing. So, also significant is the fact that Westminster Council has just ended a consultation on a new bylaw which they seek to bring in, which basically emulates Pasra throughout Westminster, and that will mean that the council is able to designate any site like Trafalgar Square or Westminster Abbey or any piece of open space where they think, oh, they could do an Occupy there, and they can put in this same effect, which means that after that any council official could come up, no need to go to court or anything, and just say, I'm telling you, under this bylaw you have to take that tent down, and if you don't do it, a police officer will be able to come and arrest you and seize. The other thing is there's the power of seizure. They'll be able to seize your tent, your sleeping bag, all of those things, and hold them for up to 28 days or something. So that has ramifications for the Occupy movement. The stated reasons for Westminster Council doing that is their observation of what's happened at St Paul's, and it is their recognition that this can happen in other parts of London. So they're going for it. Westminster's a big place. It won't be long before, no doubt, other councils follow suit, like the City of London. And so, at the moment, what is basically not an illegal activity, because Occupy at the moment is not illegal, will become rapidly an illegal activity if these laws go unchallenged. And that will mean that, whereas here we've had 3 months of continuous demonstration, with this new legal powers, that sort of thing would not be able to take place, and particularly relevant with smaller occupations where maybe you've only got 20 or so tents. Obviously, when the bigger your occupation, maybe the more security you have. If there's just a small group of you who want to camp out and make a powerful statement about anything, you won't be able to do that. As we know, this is one of the most powerful methods of demonstration that there is. So this is now under threat, and Maria Gallestegui is challenging that in court today. And the Metropolitan Police, the Home Office and Westminster Council are lining up to say she should not get a judicial review, and if it's declined, it basically means that the police can come in any time after that case, once this temporary injunction, which Maria managed to get, has been taken away. It means the police can come along, come to Parliament Square, take away a peace display which has been there for over 10 years, Brian Hall's peace campaign, and Maria's peace strike, and all the other people that are there, and then also sterilise that area, meaning that anyone else who then tries to pitch up a tent and put up a banner to stay for a long time to make an impact will also find themselves arrested, going to court or whatever.
Right, okay, well.
So, yeah.
So we'll meet Maria after that. Thank you. And how did Maria get involved? I'll ask Maria later.
Well, as I understand it, Maria was driving past in a car one day and saw Brian Hall's display and was basically instantly drawn to it. and that sort of started her support of Brian Hall's campaign, and she later went on to form her own campaign called Peace Strike, which has been going on for 5 years, and she has been there in a continuous demonstration and has been one of those really great individuals who you can approach, who's approachable and who you can come up to, and who makes you feel like it's an inclusive movement and that get involved, you know. So it's been an amazing thing to have someone on that square when people think, how do I get involved with political movements, how do I get involved in peace campaigning or stopping the war or anything? They can go night or day. And I remember myself, I went down there several years back at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, thinking about what I could do to try and help stop the wars, and I was greeted with a cup of tea, you know, and a really friendly,
great.
and I was so chuffed about that, and I ended up chatting with Maria and her friends till like 6 in the morning, and left there thinking that actually there was a lot that could be done, but with the support of other people. So many connections have been made through her being there, and also just the sheer power of her displays, the fact that you've got all these councils and stuff lining up to say they shouldn't have this judicial review is testament to the fact she has definitely made an impact there. But regardless of that, the power of occupation is really the thing, and that is what is now being slowly but surely criminalised with these new laws.
Yeah, okay, well thank you very much, Simon. We'll see you outside the court.
Cool, excellent.
Okay.
We're currently waiting outside the courts because they've got the upstairs public viewing gallery locked at the moment. So there's about 15, maybe 20 of us here not being allowed into the current court case.
And we haven't been given any reason either?
No, we've just been told that it's locked.
Okay. There's a few of us. So yeah, and I haven't actually had a chance to speak to you on the live stream. You've come down from...
Occupy Bournemouth, to show solidarity with both London and Parliament Square case.
Thank you. We've enjoyed your company. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is all strange. It's just...
Okay, my officers are happy to facilitate your protest, but not with camping equipment. Okay, any questions? No?